Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for artisanal Bible study that's organic and fresh. And don't forget that we're on Twitter. Just find me at Reverend David B. Smith on Twitter. Follow me, and I'll be glad to follow you back. You can find Daily Dose Radio uploaded there every single day. And you can, if you have a Twitter feed, receive Daily Dose Radio through your Twitter feed. Okay, we're looking at Psalm 93 this week. It's only 5 verses long, and we've been doing a verse per day. Today we come to verse 3. Day 1, verse 1, the Lord reigns. Day 2, verse 2, thy throne is established of old. So God's kingdom, his nature as king, and his nature as eternal are both described here. He is creator, he is sustainer, he is governor of, and he is the establisher from eternity of all things in the created order. Now today in verse 3, we come to something completely different. We leave eternity and his throne and his seat and his wardrobe, and we come back to earth. Now on the earth we find the floods. I really like the way the King James translates this, even though I changed the translation, maybe just more for to express a difference, but I really like the way they use the word floods here. Let me read it for you. The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. The floods lift up their waves. Now, in my translation, I have the streams lift up, O Lord. The streams lift up their voice. The streams lift up their crashing waves. The idea in the Hebrew is there's this subterranean channels of great rivers that rush beneath the earth, and they're filled with power and force, and they spring up from the earth sort of like a geyser, and they gush forth in mighty waves of power, and they crash back down on the earth as if they're trying to reach up into the heavens. Of course, they can never make that trip, and they crash back down, and they make a great tumult. In apocalyptic literature, the great mass of humanity is often described as a sea or a flood of waters or a great body of water or waves. Sometimes it's in Jude, the little book of Jude, right before the book of Revelation, we have these words in verses 12 and 13. These are spots in your feasts of charity when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots, raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame, wandering stars to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Now you see what Jude does there for us. In his apocalyptic form, he gives us these images of people. They're like stars that wander. They're like the raging waves of the sea that foam out their own shame. They're like trees without fruit, clouds without water. So in using that apocalyptic form, he gives us this image which sort of helps us understand what we see here in Psalm 93. The floods have lifted up, O Lord. The floods have lifted up their voice. So we have people that are speaking and reaching up into heaven. It's the great tumult and din of humanity that is contrary to the order and governance of God. And remember, the Lord reigns. His throne is established of old. Nothing is going to change that. Nothing is going to change the fact that he established the world and it cannot be moved. Nothing is going to change that. But what we find is the flood of people now, they're making this din and racket on the earth that is contrary to God's eternal nature. It's contrary to God's reign as king. They lift up their crashing waves as if they could reach into the heavens and pull God down off the throne. That's the idea. So it's almost like a complaint. It's almost like a complaint, but we're going to see some more about that tomorrow, and I'll save further comment for verse 4 tomorrow on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.